FM.
The news.
Good evening. This is Oluyole or Labisi. Reading with me is
Josephine Oluwabumi. Good evening.
Bringing you Newscope, our daily news program of in-depth reports, interviews and commentaries. First, the highlights. INEC adopts Osun election as benchmark for 2027.
Afenifere warns of worsening food insecurity in Southwest.
Federal government declares 25th August public holiday for Eid al-Maulud.
8 killed in Alaska plane crash.
Now the details. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has adopted the recently concluded Osun State governorship election as a benchmark for preparations for the 2027 general election. The Commission cited improved polling unit opening, beavers performance, electronic result transmission and crisis management. INEC Chairman Professor Josiah Amukpiton disclosed this today when he received the Charge to Affairs of Canada to Nigeria, David Sprolly, who led a delegation of the Canadian High Commission on a courtesy visit to the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. Amukpiton said INEC had continued to use recent off-circle elections as testing ground for electoral reforms and operational improvements, including the Anambra State governorship election, the FCT area council elections, and the Ekiti State governorship election. The INEC chairman said the commission had already commenced preparations for the 2027 general election, adding that the statutory commencement of public campaigns and rallies began on August 19th, adding that the mock accreditation exercise will hold in November.
The Pan-Yoruba Social Political Organization Afenifere has warned that the Southwest may face worsening food insecurity as escalating kidnappings, killings and attacks on farmers continue to drive agricultural workers off their farms. The organization said the growing insecurity was not only threatening lives and property, but also discouraging agricultural investment, reducing food production, worsening unemployment, and deepening poverty across the region. Afenifere's National Publicity Secretary, Comrade Jare Ajayi, raised the alarm today in a statement in which he cited a series of recent attacks on farmers and other residents across the Southwest. Among the incidents, he listed the killing of a female farmer in Ondo State, the abduction of a 33-year-old poultry farmer in Ikene, Ogun State, the killing of 4 farmers in the Okeogun area of Oyo State, and the abduction of Honorable Debo Farumbi in Osun State. He warned that the consequences were already being felt in the agricultural sector, which farmers increasingly abandoning their farms because of fear of kidnapping, ransom demands, and violent attacks. He, however, said Afenifere welcomed recent steps by the federal government towards strengthening the country's security architecture, proposing what it described as a multi-layered approach, combining robust military action with tighter border control and stronger community policing.
10 women believed to be family members of suspected terrorists and 24 children have surrendered to Nigerian army troops in Malfa local government area of Borno State after rival terrorist factions clashed in the area. The group surrendered to troops of the 112 Task Force Battalion deployed in Malfa under Operation Hande Kai and Operation Desert Sanity 5. According to security analyst Zagazola Makama, the group comprised 10 women aged between 20 and 47 years, as well as 24 children between 1 and 13. The women reportedly fled the Dukumba terrorist enclave after violent clashes broke out between rival factions operating in the area, forcing them to abandon the enclave with the children and seek safety with the troops. The surrendered persons were the surrendered persons were profiled and documented by military authorities as part of efforts to establish their identities and understand the circumstances surrounding their presence in the terrorist enclave.
However, families and concerned citizens of Borno State have called on President Bola Tinubu and Governor Babagana Zulum to urgently mobilize all available security and intelligence resources to rescue children and other residents who have remained in captivity for 100 days. The call was made at the press conference today at the National Assembly, expressing deep concern over the continued captivity of 42 pupils and students of Musa Primary and Junior Day Secondary School at Sikra Uba local government area of Borno State, who were abducted on the 15th of May 2026. It also demanded the rescue of 36 students of Government Day Secondary School, Laza, who were reportedly abducted on the 29th of June while writing their National Examinations Council NECO examinations. The group further called for the immediate rescue of 38 persons reportedly abducted along the Buratai Road to Maiduguri, as well as victims taken along the Chibok Road and other vulnerable roads across Borno State. The group similarly urged Governor Zulum to use the full weight of his office to press for the immediate rescue of the victims and work closely with the federal government, security agencies, and intelligence services.
Monthly allocations from Nigeria's Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC) have continued to rise under the economic reforms of the President Bola Tinubu administration, crossing the 2 trillion naira threshold and reaching a record over 3 trillion naira in July 2026. The development has sparked renewed debate over the sustainability of the revenue growth and its implications for economic stability and the welfare of citizens. Economist and public affairs analyst Dr. Adekunle Onile and public affairs analyst Bright Richard shared their perspectives while discussing Tinubu's economic reforms, 2 trillion naira FAC boom, on BCS Television's current affairs breakfast program AM 120. BCS reporter Shokunbi Tobiloba monitored the discussion. His report is presented by Adebayo Abdurafi.
The country's monthly FAC disbursements have recorded a significant increase under the Tinubu administration from about 629 billion in August 2023. The allocation climbed to 2.036 trillion in March 2026, 2.55 trillion in June, and peaked at 3.007 trillion in July 2026. The increase has been linked to higher revenue mobilization following the implementation of major economic reforms. Economist and public affairs analyst Dr. Adekunle Onile said the reforms were principally driven by the removal of fuel subsidy, the unification of the foreign exchange market, and the digitization of revenue collection. He acknowledged the challenges associated with the reforms, but argued that their long-term benefits would depend largely on consistency, effective implementation, and responsible management of public revenue.
The term subsidy was meant to ease the pains and to drive other indices of development for the country.
Dr. Onile also emphasized the importance of constructive criticism in strengthening governance and ensuring accountability. He said the increase in federation revenue must be translated into productive investments capable of supporting sustainable economic growth and improving the standard of living.
Revolutions and development is never top-down. It has to be from top, contrary to what people advocate. That is my own theory. Because when you put an ant in sugar, it will never leave that place unless forced out. It is the masses that will build good government. That is how it has always been. It is garbage in, garbage out.
For public affairs analyst Bright Richard, national income, inflation, and employment remain critical indicators for assessing the performance of the economy. He noted that improvements at the macroeconomic level will only become meaningful when they translate into tangible benefits, including better infrastructure, healthcare, education, and employment opportunities. Richard, however, identified Nigeria's rising debt profile as a major challenge, with implications for the exchange rate and the value of the naira. He advocated a deliberate shift from import dependence to export-oriented production to strengthen foreign exchange earnings and build a more resilient economy.
The government decided to embark on projects. That project on its own is going to create either direct or indirect employment. So that's where the prosperity or the income will now migrate from the macro to the micro, because the workers will be paid. So from the national income, the citizen get paid. So that's where it translates. Government revenue have increased. Microeconomy is actually working. Then go to another indicator, which is inflation. Before I came on board, what was the inflation like? 34%. There was a rebasement, where most of us will also want to contend with. There's a rebasement, and the rebasement reduced the inflation rate to 15%. So these are figures the economists use in calculating to show whether reforms are working or not.
The analyst called for greater transparency and accountability in the management of the increased federation revenue. They urged governments at all levels to prioritize critical infrastructure and the provision of basic necessities, stressing that the success of the reforms should ultimately be measured by their impact on economic productivity and the living conditions of Nigerians.
The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASAN, has urged the federal government to urgently translate Nigeria's vast oil and gas resources into jobs, increased revenue, investment, and sustainable national prosperity. The call was made in a communique issued at the end of the 2026 PENGASAN Energy and Labour Summit, PERS 2026, held from the 19th to the 21st of August in Abuja, an event that brought together government officials, regulators, oil and gas companies, investors, organized labor, and other industry stakeholders. The communique was signed by PENGASAN President Engineer Festus Oshefo and the General Secretary Jerry Armour, noting that Nigeria must provide a stable, predictable, and competitive regulatory environment to attract the long-term capital required to develop the petroleum industry. It called for an end to abrupt policy changes, overlapping regulatory mandates, repetitive approvals, and conflicting directives that increase costs and discourage investors. The association advocated smarter regulation backed by digitalization, transparent processes, clear requirements, faster approvals, and better coordination among regulatory institutions.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from Tuesday, 25th August 2026, a public holiday to mark this year's Eid al-Mawlid, commemorating the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. This was disclosed by the Minister of Interior, Oluyole, on behalf of the federal government in a statement issued today by Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Magdalene Ajani. The minister felicitated with Muslims in Nigeria and across the world on the occasion, charging Nigerians to reflect on the values of compassion, humility, and service associated with the life of Prophet Muhammad. Tunji Ojo urged Nigerians to use the occasion to pray for peace, national cohesion, stressing that maintaining unity remains a collective responsibility. The minister also called on citizens to celebrate the occasion with restraint and mutual respect, while wishing the Muslim community a joyous and peaceful Eid.
The Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Iman Sulaiman Ibrahim, has called for a shift in the approach to women's economic empowerment, saying women would move from being beneficiaries of intervention programs to becoming co-creators of prosperity. According to a statement released today, Sulaiman Ibrahim made the remarks at the She Included 2026 Summit. At the summit, the federal government outlined plans to expand economic opportunities to 10 million Nigerian women through skills development, recognized credentials, and access to employment and entrepreneurship. The two-day summit was convened by the Presidential Committee on Economic and Financial Inclusion and the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development. The summit comes as the government seeks to increase women's participation in an economy where access to skills, finance, and employment remains uneven.
In a bid to enhance the quality of education in Oyo State, the Jeremiah and Felicia Aduroju Foundation, a community-based organization, has organized a one-day seminar and workshop for teachers across the state. The program focused on equipping educators with relevant knowledge and skills to improve teaching effectiveness and prepare students for the demands of a rapidly changing world. BCS reporter Olamide Owolabi, who attended the workshop held at an event center in Ojo, Ibadan, has the details.
Seminar and workshop on education advancement brought together education stakeholders, teachers and students from across Oyo State to deliberate on strategies for improving the quality and standard of education. Established in 2015, the Jeremiah and Felicia Aderoju Foundation is a community-based organization committed to addressing the needs of disadvantaged children and communities with education as a major tool for bridging the gap between the rich and the poor. The workshop featured presentations on ESTAT programs as well as digital classroom, artificial intelligence and robotics, exposing participants to emerging approaches and technologies in education. The Oyo State Commissioner for Education, Mr. Segun Oluyole, whose message was delivered by Mrs. Titilola Omotosho, appreciated the foundation for organizing the program, urging participants to maximize the opportunity provided by the training to enhance their personal capacity.
It's another opportunity to add value to ourselves. We teachers there, can we see the hands of our teachers? Oh, teachers. Yes, we are role models. We are nation builders.
Also represented at the event by Dr. Olatunji Oladoni, the chairman of the Oyo State Teaching Service Commission, TESCOM, Mrs. Olubukola Oladipupo, emphasized the importance of continuous professional development for teachers, as well as the responsible application of technology in the classroom. Teachers, he said, must go beyond preparing students for examinations by identifying and nurturing their talents and equipping them with skills for life beyond the classroom.
The quality of education cannot rise significantly above the quality, commitment and professionalism of those who deliver it. This is why teacher development must remain a priority. Our teachers must continually update their knowledge, improve their classroom practices, and adapt to the changing needs of our learners.
In a presentation titled The ESTAT for Nigeria, an investment in the future, the convener, Mrs. Elizabeth Olagunju, commended the Oyo State government for its efforts towards improving the education sector. She advocated government-supported ESTAT programs to provide children with quality early education, noting that early exposure, guidance and learning opportunities could help children identify and develop their abilities from a young age.
And the purpose of our gathering today is to enhance our education in Oyo State, to give teachers the tools that they will need to improve the education of our kids, as we know that education is the tool to eradicate poverty.
Earlier in his welcome address, Dr. Dauda Ashamu said many of the challenges confronting the country could be effectively addressed through a functional and quality education system, expressing optimism that the workshop would strengthen teachers' capacity and improve their performance in the classroom.
If you want to improve education, because education is the only instrument that can solve this problem, because I told you that education is the process of teaching, training, learning, so that students can learn. And learning has not taken place except there is a change in behavior. If there has been a change in behavior, definitely there will be development of skill and improvement of knowledge.
A major highlight of the program was a practical robotics session, during which the participants built a robot demonstrating the application of technology and innovation in the modern education. Books were also distributed to participants as part of efforts to promote continuous learning and professional development. The organizers expressed hope that the knowledge and skills acquired would be translated into improved teaching practices and better learning outcomes across Oyo State. Olamide Owolabi, BCOS News.
In the world of sports, FIFA and UEFA have banned 6 countries from facing each other. This is just as international football rivalries are often more complicated than club ones. Football is often seen as a game that brings countries together, but political disputes and conflicts have sometimes made certain international fixtures too sensitive to stage. However, this has made FIFA and UEFA to keep national team support because of political tensions, territorial disputes, or security concerns. The 6 notable pairings have been kept apart include Spain versus Gibraltar, Armenia versus Azerbaijan, Kosovo versus Serbia, Kosovo versus Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo versus Russia, and Russia versus Ukraine. While the development has impacted the entire landscape of Eastern Europe, it also had a major impact on football too.
On the foreign scene, 8 people have been killed as a charter plane crashed at a remote radar site in western Alaska. Office of the Federal Aviation Administration said the civilian contracted Cessna 441 operated by Anchorage-based air charter company Security Aviation crashed west of Cape Newham LRRS Airport. According to a statement by the Alaskan Military Command, rescuers who landed near the crash site confirmed that there were no survivors. The National Transportation Safety Board's Alaska Region Chief Clint Johnson said that 2 pilots and 6 passengers were on board. The Federal Aviation Administration said Alaskan Command was investigating the crash and would name the dead after their families had been informed.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. The Independent National Electoral Commission has adopted the recently concluded Osun State governorship election as a benchmark for preparations for the 2027 general elections, citing improved polling unit opening, BVAS performance, electronic result transmission, and crisis management.
The Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization Afenifere has warned that the Southwest may face worsening food insecurity as escalating kidnappings, killings, and attacks on farmers continue to drive agricultural workers off their farms.
The federal government has declared Tuesday, the 25th of August 2026, a public holiday to mark this year's Eid al-Maulud, commemorating the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad.
On the foreign scene, 8 people have been killed as charter plane crashed at a remote radar site in western Alaska.
If you see something suspicious, alert the authorities immediately for timely response. Be vigilant. And that's all from Newscope Desk for now. It was packaged by Ajedoyin Olojede and delivered by
Oluwagbemiga Olabisi
and Josephine Oluwabumi. Thanks for listening. Do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening.